Okay, Frank Lazzaro here. In today's lesson I'm going to talk to you about how to tune your darbuka and how to change the head if ever needed. So, first of all, there are two types of darbukas. You have your tunable type and your non-tunable or fixed head darbukas. A fixed head darbuka would be generally a pottery darbuka that has a goat skin or a fish skin that's glued on and stretched with cord. And because it's glued on, it's not tunable. It's what we call a fixed head drum. The only way to change the pitch on a drum like that would be to heat the head either with a light bulb inside or put it near a heater or a campfire. But today we're going to talk about tunable drums. Most of these modern darbukas, like this one from Egypt, are tunable. And you know it's tunable because you'll see it has 6 tuning bolts right along the top. Most of the drums have 6. Some Turkish drums have 8. You might see smaller drums that have 4. But 6 is typically what you'll see. All these lugs here, they're tuning bolts, are able to be adjusted using a tuning wrench. This is known as an Allen key or a hex wrench, and it's a 5mm Allen key. Most of the time when you buy the drum, it will come with one of these, and if not, you can get it from the hardware store. So, just some things that you should know about tuning your drum. Before playing, you want to make sure your drum is in tune so you can get the best sound possible. Like any musical instrument, it's important to tune the instrument before you play. Now, these darbukas are fairly low maintenance. They don't need to be tuned every time you play, but when you receive your drum, most likely it's going to be in pretty good tune. But just in case, if you want to change the tune or make sure it's in tune, you do have this tuning key to do that. So, to make adjustments on the drum, we simply place the key and turn it to the left or right. Now you'll notice there's a small gap that runs around the ridge of the drum. So you have the top rim or the collar and then the bottom drum or the shell. So there's 2 parts here, and then of course the skin or the playable membrane. So you've got the skin, the rim, and the shell. The rim is attached using the 6 lug bolts. So I can tighten or loosen those bolts using this key. One thing that's important to notice is that there's this gap. And so one way to see visually if your drum is in tune or not is to be sure that the gap runs evenly around the whole drum. If you turn and notice that maybe part of it is higher, there's a larger gap than another place, that may be a sign that your drum is out of tune. You may want to adjust it to make it even. The other thing is, if one part of this rim is too high, there might be a little ridge on the playing surface that would make it uncomfortable to play and also could affect the sound. Always inspect your drum for any bubbles, any small tears, anything that might prevent you from getting the best sound. Okay, so once we've got our drum nice and tight, we can check the tuning by tapping right over each bolt. If you notice, as I tap over each bolt, the sound is the same, very close to identical, over each bolt, which tells me that my drum is in very perfect tuning. So that's good. Now, the sound of the drum will vary on how tight or how loose you make the skin. So it is a personal preference. Right now I have my drum tuned to what I feel is optimal sound. I've got a nice resonant doom. My tech is nice and bright. So I like how it sounds. However, if you want for some reason maybe a lower sound, not as high treble on the tech and maybe a lower bass sound, you can tune the drum down by turning just a quarter turn at a time the lugs. I'm not going to do it to mine because I don't want to knock it out of tune, but I'm just demonstrating how you would do it. only a quarter to a half turn at a time. Never turn one bolt excessively. I always do just a little bit at a time, and then test it. If you don't like the sound, maybe go a little bit lower, go a little bit higher. So these drums are tunable using the tuning wrench. Okay, it's fairly straightforward, and as I mentioned, just be sure the gap is even all the way around, and that when you test the sound, it sounds the same all the way around. Okay, so that's a little basic information on tuning. Now when it comes to time to change a head, you'll notice that this head, it looks like a fish skin. This is actually a synthetic head. It's made by Remo. It's made to imitate or mimic the look and sound of an Egyptian fish skin. Traditionally, the fish skin was the most sought after drum head. It came from a fish called the Nile sturgeon. It was from the Nile River. And you can still get drums in Egypt with the fish skin, a natural fish skin, but the problem with fish skin is it breaks very easily and often will go out of tune. They don't last very long, but many artists use them for recording because of their beautiful sound. But nowadays we have a synthetic fish skin imitation. It doesn't smell like fish either, which is another plus. And so I fitted my drum with one of these. So the drum usually comes with a clear head. This is how it will look. This drum here, as you can maybe see, has the clear head. This is the stock head. If you wanted to change the head to maybe one of these or another style, or if your skin gets worn out or damaged, eventually it's good to change the head every few years, or just depending on how much you play. For any reason you might want to change the head, it's easy to do. You just take out all the different 6 lug bolts, but before you do that, I recommend, and I've done a tutorial on this just by itself, I recommend making a mark maybe with a piece of masking tape. One here on the collar and one on the shell, just so you know when you take it off that you put it on the exact same orientation, because sometimes the holes aren't drilled in perfect symmetry, and if you don't put it on the same way you took it off, you may have trouble fitting it. So just a little piece of masking tape, one here, one there, so that you know where it goes. Now once you take that off and place the new head, you're going to tighten the bolts in a star pattern. So you would start with the one where you taped it, then go across, then you would go here, then go there, then go there, then go there. So it would be like in the shape of a star. So I'll show you again. From here to here, then to there, then there, then there, then there. Now once the bolts are evenly tightened in that star pattern, you wouldn't tighten them all the way down yet. You would just have the head set, and then you'd go around one by one, turning the drum and turning maybe a half to one full turn around the entire drum. You don't want to turn one bolt all the way down and crank it down, because what's going to happen is this side will go down and then that side will be up. So what you want to do is go a little bit each one until you have it set to where it's nice and flush on the top, and you have the gap evenly all the way around. When you test the sound as you go, you'll notice maybe it's as tight as you want it, then you can stop. Or you want it tighter, so you continue. It's important to be flush on the top so that you don't have any little ridge there, because that could hurt your hand and affect the sound. Once you have it to where it's nice and tight, the skin is stretched, then you can do your fine tuning like I mentioned. Go around, be sure it sounds the same over every lug. That's called having the drum in tune with itself. So you may find also when you first put on a new skin that the skin is very tight. That's normal. The skin is plastic and it's going to stretch eventually as you play it. And just the process of putting it on will stretch the skin, and sometimes within 24 to 48 hours it reaches its maximum sound. If not, as you're playing it, it will also stretch to the point where it sounds just how you want it. If it doesn't reach that sound, sometimes you need to do further tuning or try a different head. Anyway, that's some information on how to tune your drum and change the head if needed. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this information useful.